Hello everybody, I want to show you some interesting patterns I came across. It has to do with the cultural climate change and the spirit of the age. You remember back in the day, in the 90s, when the mainstream media was gradually mainstreaming, we could call it the Will and Grace effect. Back then, the gay community was often referred to as the LGB community. You had your lesbians, your gays, and your bisexual. I think it's curious if we go over to Google image search. So let's see what the normies get. LGB Google image search. Now I see a bunch of trains, and immediately I think of the LGB community becoming more letters. We have the LGBTQ or TQA stuff. So T and then Q. Not QT, because then you'd have to say cutie, and that gets a little weird. Back in the day, that would give you a Google image search that would probably show you rainbow flags and celebrating or holding some sort of hashtag sign or something like that. Now we get these trains. The trains. Can you hear the trains are coming? So now I click on LGB. I'm looking at LGB. These are just trains. I have to be honest with you, I was largely ignorant of model trains.
Great, Doc. These things still work.
I apologize for the crudity of this model, but
Yeah, no, Doc. It's not to scale.
But when I think of the model train in this miniature world that looks like a real world that's smaller, I think of Westworld and the train that circles the park. And I don't want to give any spoilers away for the new season of Westworld, but there's this concept of almost like a weaponized gnosis in which people start waking up to the illusory nature of the park or the farm or the Westworld or the world itself as a larger fractal. And it causes paranoia and chaos, and people go to war. And you could look at it one way as the show glorifies violence. You could look at it the other way as it's a classic sci-fi story that projects a truth into the potential future to show humans a mirror about what they're doing to themselves, or could be in the not too distant future if they don't rethink some things. So I don't want to say more about the show and spoil any details for you, but we have an idea of a waking up to an illusory world causing hedonism, a lust for power, quasi-nihilism, a breakdown of society, and total chaos. And that is not what some people had in mind. So there's different reactions to the truth and to gnosis in general. So there's a very caustic, potentially pro-nihilist, pro-chaotic kind of pseudo-gnostic awakening.
Lots of land under starry skies above.
Embedded in this show. That's also something that Philip K. Dick and the Wachowskis and the Matrix franchise deals with. And when you think about how manufactured and ridiculous all aspects of society are becoming as something I described a number of years ago as a ripple would pass through this world and create a spirit of the age that would cause a worldwide event that would kind of wake everybody up to the fact that we're all on a same page. When big enough events happen, the other things in our lives are secondary to priority, first principles. And
a couple of cars from the tender, throw the switch track, and then we'll borrow the locomotive and use it to push the time machine.
A number of people would rather argue about the minutiae of the cult of personality within the gay rights movement instead of taking a look at the fact that there's clearly something going on with the explosion of people identifying as transgender, and the concept that they were all in the closet and decided not to be because of some Twitter trends and hashtags seems a little strange to me. I think that would only account for a small amount of what used to be 1 in 10,000 boys identifying with gender dysphoria now being something that passes through social media, not unlike the pseudo tics of TikTok. So Billie Eilish says she has Tourette's, and now girls want to have Tourette's on TikTok, and then they videotape themselves being like the celebrity that they saw on the social media. That's called a social contagion, and it's hard to have the conversation. But take a look at these images of the trains here, LGB, and think about some of the language that might be puerile or maybe immature surrounding homosexual activity. I'm trying to be cautious about the language I use here and what I illustrate, but something getting attached to someone's caboose could be language that in, say, high school around the locker room,
and tear down the Twin Towers. Yes, man.
we would say someone were loose in the caboose. This was a colloquialism that was used by teenage boys to tease one another.
Oh, that's a hot show in the morning, for me. And Matt Lauer, man, I mean,
we like Matt Lauer.
He brings the female out in me because that Matt Lauer, Matt Lauer is hot. Matt Lauer is hot. Yeah, I mean,
Me too.
When I was in high school in the mid-90s, loose in the caboose. That was a phrase that had been around for quite a while, actually, and I'm not sure if anybody uses it anymore. And I'm not sure if anybody associates LGB with the gay community or if they all think of trans. So when you say LGB, you think, well, there's the T and the Q. So they tacked TQ, makes me think of tack, right? They have a TQ and an A and a plus. Let's just go out on a limb here and say that reality's a little strange, and there's a relationship between the LGB train company, model train company, and the QTs and the TQs that were tacked on to the caboose of the LGB movement. And the trans movement might have nothing to do with sexual orientation and be a manifestation of something that's completely different. And I think we need to exercise caution when we navigate this conversation around people who are going through something that I believe is a spiritual and misunderstood, yet to be understood event. I'm not suggesting it's misunderstood by others and I've got all the answers. I didn't mean to give you that impression. We've got the LGB train. Now we have this old saying, we hear the train a-comin'. I like the Peggy Lee song, the old jazz song, Hear My Train a-comin'. I'm not sure if I have that here. Doing a screen grab. Let's see, do I have Peggy Lee in here? I might have to cut this out in post. I do have Peggy Lee. Waiting for the train to come in. I'm trying out a new microphone, so pardon if it doesn't sound so great. We'll figure this out.
I've counted every minute of each livelong day. Been so melancholy since he went away.
All right, that's Peggy Lee. She's like the other Nina Simone in that she was one of these early jazz singers that ended up writing and producing much of her own material. So she was unique for a female artist at her time. So props to her. Hear My Train a-comin'. Maybe she heard the train a-comin' a long time before it came in for the rest of the ladies. I don't know. There seems to be this kind of inversion. We were in James Brown's man's world, and now things are different. And the epitome of the man's world would be the white man's world. So taking down the white man's world would symbolically be, the first thing you'd want to do if you were to usher in a new world. The first thing you'd want to do if you were to usher in a new world, or usher in the symbolism that you wanted a new world and you were going to fake it until you make it. Or you do a little both. Fake it till you make it, right? You do LGB and you fake it, and then you tack on the TQ onto the caboose, and you're a little loose in the caboose. Is this going to hold together? How many cars can we put on this thing? It's just a whole line of mobile devices all getting in line with one another. Think about that. And you model it out. You scale it out on the model train. LGB, and let's see. All right, this works. You get it to go around the track a few times. All right, this LGB thing goes around the track. It's legit and people buy into it. Let's tack on another mobile device. Let's see what they want to do now. Okay, transgender, queer, okay, affirming, all right, plus TQA. How many letters are we going to put on this? And now, are all those letters reappropriated like the rainbow? I thought the rainbow was a symbol for Lucifer and the Pink Floyd album, but no, now it's a gay sign. I had a crush on Rainbow Bright when I was little. She was a cute girl from the stars, flew on a Pegasus. I was into her.
Into a land filled with darkness came a little girl with a mission. After proving herself to be worthy and brave, she became known as Rainbow Bright. Now, along with her magnificent horse Starlight and her loyal and true friends Twink and the Color Kids, she lives far away in Rainbow Land, a wonderful place full of color and happiness. Using the power of the rainbow, her magical color belt, and the star sprinkles, Rainbow Bright and her friends protect Rainbow Land, fighting off the forces of darkness and gloom and the devious plots of Murky and Lurky, so that they can bring color and happiness to people everywhere.
Rainbow Bright, yeah, my first crush, and now the rainbow. So we gotta take it back.
Good afternoon. Please give your attention to my associate, Agent J. He's going to demonstrate an electro-biomechanical neural transmitting zero synapse repositioner. We call it the neuralizer. Keep it simple, Slade. Thanks a lot.
The rainbow represents diversification and also the breaking of light photons into a whole bunch of spectrums that we can see. There's some stuff we can't see.
Wow, a sailboat!
So that diversity, if we celebrate diversity, it seems an antithesis to be prideful about having one color in the rainbow, right? Like, I'm orange, fuck everybody else. Fuck all y'all. Green ass motherfuckers. Orange. Meanwhile, some people are born like me with hazel eyes, I could say. Hazel eyes, pride, get a pride hashtag going, right? Everybody with hazel eyes. They're green, they're brown, they're better. It's not really gonna happen. I'm just saying, it'd be ridiculous for me to take pride in having hazel eyes because I was born with them. Doesn't make sense. Right? I didn't do anything. So if you're born gay, like Lady Gaga says, I was born this way, destined to worship Satan with Abramovich. I was born to soul cook the room I rent in your head. I'm gonna make a mess in there. Oh boy. So, conceptual art, model trains, fake it till you make it. If you build it, they will come. So LGB sounds good. See what we can tack on here. How long can that train get? It's kind of like that show, Snowpiercer, based on the French comic book. Or is it a graphique novel? Pretentious cartoonists. All right, so what I'm saying here is we have colloquialisms like "hear my train a comin'," can you hear the train a comin'? The train comes in. LGB. Oh, I just want to be happy in my own little world. And now someone tacked on something to the caboose, and now everybody's angry about it, and no one's ever going to leave you alone. So maybe you should stop taking pride and just, go homesteading. Go home instead. Put the hashtag down. Those are Lincoln logs. Lincoln turds. Little brown Lincoln logs. You stack that shit up, and then it comes down, and it's a big deal.
Boys! Avenge me! Avenge me!
Stack it up, take it down, big freaking deal, everybody talks.
There is this inextricable tie between culture, religion, ethnicity that most people don't fully understand. That is unique and, how can I say it? So strong with Jews worldwide. There is a, I mean, I used to say early on when I was a kid, I'd say, when I was a young senator, I'd say, if I were a Jew, I'd be a Zionist. I am a Zionist. You don't have to be a Jew to be a Zionist.
Look, the train came in. You gonna get on the train? Look, the train came in. Now everybody can fit on the train. Pretty soon, the whole freak show train's gonna come in, and gay people are gonna be associated with all types of other crazy nonsense, and it's too bad.
What we do is, if we need that extra push over the cliff, you know what we do?
Put it up to 11.
11, exactly. One louder.
Why don't you just make 10 louder and make 10 be the top number and make that a little louder?
These go to 11.
I'm not saying transgenderism is crazy nonsense either. Something strange is going on, and we should have compassion for people. If they're being tricked by propaganda and it's a social contagion, we should have compassion for the people that are a victim of it. And if it's a biological phenomenon, it's unprecedented in human biology, as far as we know, and it's an amazing situation that we need to understand more before we make any definitive statements about it. And if it's some sort of spiritual warfare, well then we shouldn't expect most people in the materialist, secular Western society to understand it too well, and we should have some compassion, and we should try to reach out to them and point out to them that the world we live in has a kind of a manifold pattern and myth to it, and we keep repeating it. And we've been through stuff like this before, and it's recorded in our scriptures and in our mythologies. And when we create heroes that represent the best aspects of ourselves, and then we create boogeymen and we have them fight each other, whether with action figures as children or as CGI superheroes in blockbuster movies that are the biggest entertainments the world's ever seen, whether we're doing that on a little kid level or on a massive digital billion-dollar level or even beyond in a mystical kind of collective consciousness level, it's all the same story, and it's going to become more and more obvious to people. And I'll be out here pointing out things that just seem a little curious like this. So I think this video's probably gone on long enough since, this was just a small little thing. But you hear the train coming. The train is running on a loop. It comes every so often, and it changes a little bit though. They keep adding some mobile devices to it, and pretty soon everybody gets in line with their mobile device, and they're all on the same agenda. And when they go somewhere, I guess there's more momentum, more security, more diversity within an insular group that then could maybe have a bit more of a chance for survival. If they have more strengths and weaknesses, they have more raw material to work with. Or maybe it's social engineering, and the more people, more lemmings you have, the more of a snowball effect you have, and it's like an anti-hundredth monkey effect. It's like the legion in the Gospels where Christ casts the demon out of a man, and the demon is manifold and speaks with multiple voices and refers to itself in the plural, we are legion. And Christ throws the demon into swine that then run off a cliff. I was thinking that's kind of rude of Jesus to F up someone's pork crop. I mean, that was livelihood. Now it's insane pigs dying in the river. What a mess. No wonder people misunderstood the guy. Anyway. So Jesus didn't say anything about gay people, and it looks like he healed one. And I'll do another video on that. And the transgender thing is bizarre. And it seems to be predicted in the Gospel of Thomas, which is also represented in the overlays of Albrecht Dürer's famous Christ on the Crucifix. And so what we have is an engineered failure to communicate that seems to come about naturally as well as through means that are engineered by, I would say, propaganda and social engineering. It's a self-fulfilling prophecy that we are in a slow civil war, slow motion civil war, culturally. So the cultural climate change is happening.
But one of your top aides, Larry Wallace, was accused of sexual harassment, and you said you weren't aware of what had happened. Did anyone tell you what was going on at your office?
I did not know about that case.
And this involves people's relationships with their identities with their own body and their orientation towards society. And when they express these ideas that they've heard about in pop culture, they get on board with the popular jargon and the colloquialisms. And those colloquialisms are embedded with language that has manifold meaning. So think of a double entendre. You could take it two ways. Some of these things you could take a few ways, and then when you illustrate them as images, they even spell out a number of other ways they could be taken.
Who are Latinx at the border.
The train comes into the station, LGB, a model train, a miniature world, a fake world, based on a real world.
I know that you think that you have a handle on what this is going to be. Guns and tits and all that mindless shit that I usually enjoy. You have no idea. This place seduces everybody.
And we map it up to scale and fake it till you make it. So perhaps these loops and these patterns are things that have happened before. And so the LGB train, whatever it represents on a larger scale for society, maybe we built that before and now we're running it again, and this seems to be kind of a pattern. We make the model train, then we have the real train, and then everybody gets aboard. Interesting. So, do you hear your train a-comin'? I think at the end of the Beach Boys, Pet Sounds, one of my favorite records, with the train coming. So one last thing, there's also embedded in this change, a bait and switch of the LGB becoming the LGB Taqiyya, T-Q-A, and the little cross looks possibly like an I or a T. So you have Taqiyya, and this is an esoteric concept in Islam, which is backed up in their, ineffable or uncorruptible scriptures that they believe are the very word of God. It's permissible for Muslims to lie and use deception if they feel they're in a situation where their faith is under threat and they're being threatened as Muslims. And so they can misrepresent themselves, lie about being Muslim, or lie about what Muslim or Islam entails. So if you read the Quran, it sounds like a gaslighting boyfriend who's abusive is telling a girlfriend, I love you, why are you making me do this? Why are you making me hurt you? I love you. You know I'm a nice person. Bang, bang, bang. It's insanity. And gaslighting. That term gets overused, but it happens. And that's what that is. And it's embedded in this idea that we have a cultural event it involves Islam, and then there's a false idea, and then we tack on some other things, and then we allow things that we normally wouldn't allow because of the shock and awe or association with something else. So the shock and awe of 9/11 allowed for us to, get groped at the airport and not say anything about it because, Muslims. And we had different ideas about Islam, which the new atheist movement used to turn into $1 million cottage industry, lambasting the existence of God, which seems to be suggested by genetics and biology and maths and the fossil record and the lack thereof. So science points towards intelligent design, putting the quad-core binary system in your DNA code. Someone did that. Didn't fall out of the fucking sky by accident. That'd be funny if it did. So that's about it. Something's going on. People are changing. The cultural climate change, the event of transgenderism and COVID and the political phenomenon and the narcissistic clown president that came right after the first part black president, half black. So the age of blackmail and nuclear espionage and rap beef supplanted and intermixed with politics, which is for children now. So adults are interested in childish shit, and the children are involved in transcending the physical self and ego death. So it's a strange world we live in. It's upside down, and that reminds me of Acts 17, in which Jason goes to jail. They take some money from him, and then the whole thing is upside down. Jason gets out of jail, and they give him some money. It's a story I just lived through. I'll tell you about it in more detail in the not too distant future, but I think we're good here. So do you hear the train coming? The Westworld train circling the farm, tacking on new movements. It's just a remix of the same thing, but we shift it and the stakes are higher. So the new season is going to be awesome. This shit's bananas with monkeypox, and then, I don't know, it's a whole new Trump drama. The Democrats just can't break up with the boogeyman. They gotta just continue to hate him. So we're not done abusing ourselves yet and yelling at the mirror. It's gonna get fucking weird out there. I'll see ya. Take care. God bless. Thanks for coming out.
Sunday, we'll load the DeLorean onto the tracks here on the spur, right by the old abandoned silver mine.